Hey everybody, this is Melina from ScrapbookingwithME.com and Me Crafty Scrapper here on YouTube and Instagram. Today I wanted to share with you this little adorable little folio I dreamed up a few minutes ago. Now, of course, the style of this folio, it's like an envelope style, is not new. You can find these on YouTube, but the way I did the inside, maybe you've not seen this before. So this little folio measures 5 inches by 4 inches tall when it's all folded up. It has lots and lots and lots of fold outs. So here we go. We have a string closure, so a half of a policy closure, and that is on our top flap here. I've used just some scraps from my bigger scrap pile. This is actually that paper I was using the other day in that 12 by 12, using up 12 by 12 paper video. And then I set my jumbo eyelet in the middle of my, this has, let's see, I wrote this down just so I could remember. It has one 5 by 8 inch circle in craft paper, and then 2 1 inch in craft paper, and then another 1 inch in the designer paper. So that is a 1, 2, 3, 4 layer circle there, all glued together, and then make the policy closure out of it. And then when you flip it open, okay, you have what looks like a little pocket there. It is a little tuck pocket there, and that's just 3 by 4 card like we made the other day in that video that opens up, that is down in that pocket. This pocket is actually a wraparound pocket, so it wraps around this fold, and then there's another 3 by 4 opening or little book there on the back. Okay, this on the top, this little top flap here, it has a fold up there, and you could put some coffee dyed paper here and do journaling, or make a little another little pocket here if you wanted to. And then on top of this, it has a little pocket there. Okay, and then when you fold this down, okay, we have 2 flip outs in the middle, and this side flips up and this side flips down, and then both open. There you go. And then in the middle we have a pocket, and it also has another flip just like on our edges here. Okay, and then the bottom has 4 tuck spaces. So we have tuck spaces here and tuck spaces on top of it. So it has lots and lots of interesting aspects to it, and it is something that could be sent in snail mail if you would wish. If you wanted to create something like this and put some gift cards down in these pockets to send to a graduate or something like that, you could do so. I'm just now seeing that that pocket is not even, or it doesn't look even to me. Oh well, I'm good with it. I'm just gonna go with it. So I'm going to show you how this all came together. We're going to build this base together. It is super simple, and when you are done, you will have this cute as a button little folio envelope fold out folio. Maybe that will be the name of it. I don't know yet. We'll figure it out and you'll know, because that'll be my thumbnail. It'll have the name of it on there. But as I'm making it, I still haven't figured out what actually I want to call it. So, all right, let's pull you out just a little bit, because I've got you really close to see this little piece, but we're starting with a big 12 by 12 sheet of cardstock. So let's pull you out just a little bit. All right, so here is our 12 by 12 sheet of cardstock, and you're going to need some kind of ink, distress ink, if you like that look. I have used that all over this one. So you'll need some kind of distress ink, and then you'll need a large trimmer in the beginning, and then the more we cut, the smaller of a trimmer you need. I have a piece that just had some gunk on it and I'm just going to use that. So no worries there. This can all get covered up with our pattern papers. So you are going to cut a piece that is 5 inches by 12 inches. So you're going to go over to your 5-inch mark on your trimmer, and you're going to cut that 12-inch by 12-inch piece of cardstock at 5 inches. Okay, so you have your 5-inch by 12-inch piece. This one actually seems to be just a smidge longer than 12 inches, but it fits in there all right. It's okay. All right, and then you are going to get your scoring tool out, whatever scoring tool you like to use, and you are going to score. Really easy. We're going to score at 4, and we're going to score at 8. Yep, score at 4 and 8. That's all we're doing here. All right, now I have really cheap cardstock showing you this, so mine is bucking up in the folds, but like I said, it's just really cheap cardstock, so that I can just show you how all this comes together, because I've already made mine. I really don't need to make another one unless I want to sell it. I could do that. Oh well, I digress. Now you need to cut 2 pieces at 3 7/8 inches by 7 inches. All right, so we have our 2 pieces that are cut 7 inches long by 3 7/8 inches wide. All right, and then your 2 pieces that you cut 3 7/8 by 7 inches long, you are going to score them. Whoops. You're going to score them at 2 1/2. 2 1/2. 2 1/2. Okay. You're going to butt the 2 pieces that are scored at 2 1/2. So the 2 shorter ends, you're going to butt them up to each other like so. Okay. This is going to give us that middle fold out flap. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these as my backs. Am I? No, I'm going to turn these over, and I'm going to butt those 2 short ends together, and I'm just going to use a piece of Scotch tape right down the middle, just so they stay together when I'm putting them in my folio. Okay, so you've lined them up together. You're going to go ahead and fold them over where you scored them at 2 1/2. Okay, so see, it lines up great right there in the middle. So all you're going to do now is put your glue of choice on the back. And then you're going to line that up just to make sure that nothing's hanging off on either side, and then that these 2 ends are not on those fold lines. So you're just making sure that you've got room to fold up here without buckling and room to fold down here without buckling. So I'm in the middle. Now I have went through on these and I have rounded my corners. You do not have to do that. I just think it gives it a nice little cleaner look to it when you are folding them over like that. Okay, now for the top here, I'm going to cut 1 inch off of my top flap, and that is going to give us that envelope look to the closure. So I'm going to get all these little giblets out of the way, as Mama calls them. And I'm going to make sure of which one is my top. That one is what I want as my top, and I'm going to just cut off 1 inch. So I'm going to put this through my trimmer, go over to the 1 inch mark here, line it up, cut off that 1 inch. Do not throw this away. We will be using that. We're going to use every itty bitty piece of this 12 by 12 sheet of cardstock. So now, see, when you fold it over, you have that nice envelope looking closure, and then you can do your whatever corners you would like. You can round them. I used my tag corner punch, and that's how I did mine. Now at this point you want to go ahead and start going through and inking everything. So I'm using my vintage photo. I'm going to round these corners also, so I don't have any chance of those points bucking up and coming out of the folio. So let's ink all of our edges on the outside and on the inside. You're also going to ink your folds if you want that nice finished look. Of course, you don't have to ink that one because you'll be adding the wraparound pocket to the bottom. And now we're going to ink all of the inside edges and then ink inside and outside of these flaps, because the reason I did this is because I put my pattern paper on as matte. So I cut down like a 1/2 inch, and then that way the base actually shows around the edges. That's how I did mine. Now if you want to just cover everything, you might not want to ink if you're going to cover all the way to the edges of everything. And then fold these backwards and ink those. It is a lot of inking, but it is totally worth it. All right, now these flaps, outside, inside, and the little folds. Okay, so we have our base. And then we're going to work on this pocket here on the bottom. Okay, so we have this little piece left from the 12 by 12, and then we have this little strip left from the 12 by 12, okay? So this larger piece that we have left over, we need to cut it at 3 3/4 by 4 3/4. So you have this little strip left, keep it, we will use it later. And then 4 3/4, keep this. Okay, so then you have this little square, and I know you can't see it very well because it's the same paper up against each other, or cardstock up against each other. But you have this little square here. And I am going, since these corners are rounded, I rounded those corners, then I'm going to also round the bottom corners of this. So this little piece that is 3 3/4 by 4 3/4, we are going to fold it. You need the width, so you're folding the width. Okay, and then I'm going to use my little circle punch, and I'm going to give myself a notch, and by folding it I'm going to get both of my notches at the same place for both sides. Okay, just like that. So now we are going to ink our fold and then ink our edges. Do not have to do the inside, but you need to do all of the outside edges here. Okay, and then you are going to glue this down and have 2 tucks in here, or 2 pockets. Now, what I'm going to do is use my 1/8 inch score tape. I'm going to put 1 piece of 1/8 inch right down the middle here. Now you could leave it open all the way and just have one big something in there to go back and forth, but I thought this was a cute look, and I'm going to make 2 different side pockets out of this. So 1/8 inch score tape right down the middle where you folded it in the middle, and then 1/8 inch score tape at the tops and bottoms, but not where you've put your notch. Okay, and then you're going to make sure if you have rounded the corners on one edge, make sure that you line that up correctly where it needs to go. Don't go on to that fold line there. And then just make that kind of like a mat, like you do pattern paper when you're making folios and things. And then just kind of burnish that score tape down if that's what you used. If you used liquid glue, you have to be really, really careful in that middle so it doesn't squish out, so you get to utilize that entire pocket on both sides there. Okay. So then we need to make our top closure before we put on our flap, because if you have a regular crocodile like I do, it's not, if you put a flap on the inside of this, you're not going to be able to get in here to this and put in your closure like here. Okay, so just get some scrap cardstock. So I use some scrap craft cardstock on the back of mine. I do have this over here, and I think I will just do that. So I'm going to punch out a 5/8 inch circle punch, and then I'm going to punch out 2 1-inch circle punches. Okay. And that is my little sturdy base for the outside. Now, I want to use this pretty mustard pattern paper as my outside piece. So, I'll get all of my little circles. My 5/8 inch circle goes down first. Little dot of liquid glue in the middle of it, and I put a 1-inch circle on top, put it in the middle, and then another 1-inch circle on top of the other 1-inch circle, and one more. So you have a 5/8 inch circle, and then you have 3 1-inch circles. And you're just going to put those together. Make sure they are good and secure together and squished in really good. Now, there are many YouTubers all over that make their little policy closure circles in different ways. Whatever works for you, that's what you should do for your policy closure, okay? This has worked for me for years. Sometimes I will add another 5/8 inch circle to give me a little bit more height, but I found that I didn't need that with this one, so I'm good. before you put this on and secure it, you're going to have to decorate that flap. So I will go ahead and decorate on this one, just that front flap, and put on our policy closure on the front, and then we'll put on our fold up flap here, and then I'll go through all the decorating with this one. But I want you to get start to finish on how you can put all of this together. I'm going to get, you can use a standard eyelet, or you can use a jumbo eyelet like I'm going to. And then to decorate that flap, now there is no magic to this, guys. You just have to go through and measure all your little flaps and figure out what size you want your decorated piece. So my top flap is 3 inches by 5 inches. So this piece that I cut for my top flap is going to be 4 3/4 by 2 3/4, and I'm going to round my 2 bottom corners and ink my edges all around. So I've just cut a complete 1/2 inch off of the edges compared to this measurement. So that's what I did with pretty much every one of my flaps. I just cut it down 1/4 inch on one side, 1/4 inch on the other side, so that it would fit and mat here correctly. Okay. Well, look at there what I did. I did the corner rounder instead of my tag. Let's see what this looks like when I put it down. Okay, that looks fine. Oh, me. Who knows from one day to the next what I am going to actually do. Okay, and then we're going to glue this down on our top flap here. And just make sure that you've got it pretty much in the middle. Okay, and then you're going to have to decorate that inside cover also. So we'll need to cut this piece, go ahead and cut this piece so that we can set our eyelet. And that piece is 4 3/4 by 2 1/2. Okay, so I'm going to cut that. I've already got 4 3/4. There's my 2 1/2. And I left that piece as is. I just lined it up on this bottom half right here. I'm going to ink the edges. Okay, and then you're going to line this piece up with this bottom edge right here. It's going to look a little weird at first, but we haven't put this flap on yet, so that's why it's going to look a little bit odd how we line it up, but it does work. Trust me. So just put on your 4 3/4 by 2 1/2 inch piece, whatever you're going to decorate it with, and just line it up, not going over that fold there, and then getting in on both edges the same. Okay, so now you've got both front and back of your flap decorated. You are going to use your crocodile and put a hole in your stacked circles. Put your eyelet in the middle, and then you're going to line this up how you want it. On mine, I went up a bit off of my designer paper, so I think that's what I'll do here too. I'm just going to press in my eyelet so I can get the little circle bits there, and that just shows me where I need to punch this hole, and I'm using the larger hole on my crocodile. All right, I'm gonna line that up, punch my circle, and then I'm going to put on my eyelet here, and see that leaves just a little bit how I set it or where I placed it. Okay, and then we are going to set our eyelet. We'll come back and do our string in just a minute. Go ahead and set our eyelet. Okay, now that we've got our eyelet set on the outside, we can put on our top flap that goes up here. This piece here. We are going to use that little rectangle piece that we have left. This is, if you have lost your little rectangle piece or you accidentally threw it away, this is 3 3/4 by 2 1/4. All right, and then this piece is going to go here. That's that piece there. Okay. And then this piece, the fatter piece that you have left over, you have this little skinny piece, then you have this little fatter piece. This piece is going to go here. It's going to go right there on the edge, and you are going to put some 1/8 inch score tape on this bottom edge here. And you're going to go ahead and find your front on this, ink your edges, and you can round corners if you want to on this little strip also. I should have done that already. Here and here, ink those there. And then I'm going to ink up the sides of this. I don't have to ink where the score tape is. It's going to get covered up. Okay, and then I will use my mat to kind of center this long piece up. So I'm going to put this on my mat straight here, and then I'm going to add this on and try to get it just as center as possible. I've got more on this other side. There we go. Like so. We're making a little boat, it looks like. Okay, and before you press it all the way down, you're going to come over to your piece and you're going to line that up at the top and make sure that this piece is lined up correctly and straight and not hanging off of the edges on either edge here. Okay, so it looks pretty good to me. I'm going to push that down where that score tape is. All right, so that's going to be our flap, and this piece is going to be our little hinge. Okay, so this is, if you have lost your little bitty strip, this is, just a touch over 1/2 inch. Okay, and then we're going to, don't worry about how long it is, because we're going to line it up here on the back of the larger rectangle. We're just going to line it up, and then we're going to use our scissors just to trim off that excess there, and that's going to become our little hinge. We are going to, I'm going to use my scoring tool and just score at what looks like the middle. Since it's so tiny, I would never get it folded over correctly, so I'm just going to fold that over. This is the tent part of the hinge, so you need the tent standing up just like that, and that one side of your tent goes on the back side of this, and then the other side of your tent goes here. Don't do your tent upside down. All right, So I'm just going to put some liquid glue down this one side, and I'm going to adhere it to the back of this piece and line it up. All right, and then, so we have that little flap there. We're going to put glue on the other side of the tent and adhere it to the middle of your flap, inside top flap, okay? So just right in the middle, getting excess off and pressing down, and then open it up. If you've got some excess glue in here, wipe that off. Okay, so there is that top flap there, your middle open flaps here, and then your bottom side tucks there. And then to make your string closure for this eyelet policy closure, whatever, you put your string, whatever your string is, I am using crochet thread, and you just put it behind all of your little circles that you have glued together, okay? Leave this on the spool, and you are going to pull it tightly behind those circles. And then you are going to tie a square knot. So 1 and 1, and then 1 and 1. You're going to cut off this little tail here. And then you're going to wrap it around as many times as you would like. Now I did not get this little, oh, I just noticed that. I did not get this little eyelet in the middle there, but you can wrap it around just as many times as you would like. Let's see, I like going up first when I'm getting my string cut. So up first, and then I'll come up one more time and cut about here, and then give myself another little tuck around that circle. Okay, so after you tie that on around your circle to the back of it, go up. And I go 1, 2, 3 times. That third time I don't go over again. I just tie it around that little circle. Now, as far as decorating, so we have all of this, and look, all we had left was this teeny tiny little piece out of that 12 by 12. That's all we had left. I call that a win. I love when I can use every bit of my stuff. So, with the decorating, so here I just added just a little matte piece onto that tab. And then here, this has enough in it, let me show you here, enough space in it here that you have a little bit of a tuck. But I wanted a little bit more, so I just cut a piece so that it didn't go over this flap, and put myself a little notch in the top of it, a little thumb hold, and just glued it on these two sides, and then stuck it down into that little tuck there, and that made my top pocket. Okay, on this I just measured out. I did my flap here, covered that flap first, and then whatever was left over is what I cut this down to and put it there. It's just whatever you want to do. I like to mat and leave some of the base cardstock showing. You might not like to do that, and you might want to cover it completely, and that's perfectly fine. You do you, okay? So there's the top flap, how I decorated. On this, I did the same thing, just left myself like a 1/4 of an inch on all the sides and cut that pattern paper down. Same thing on this one. And then when you open them up, all I did here was cut 4 inches by 6 inches, and then folded it in half, inked it, and put it on. So I glued one on that side and then glued the other one so it would fold up. This one folds down. So 4 inches by 6 inches, rounded the corners, folded it in half, and that's how I did those. Okay, then on the inside, I just cut this piece of pattern paper here, 2.5 inches, and then just did my little notch there. Put it on with 1/8 inch score tape on the 3 sides, and then I cut another 4 by 6 piece and folded it in half and put it on the inside there. Okay, so on the bottom part, you already have these, and you just cut pieces to fit into your 2 side pockets there. And then for these, I just cut 2 pieces of pattern paper. Let me get my ruler back. There it is. I just cut 2 pieces of pattern paper at, it looks like 3.5 by 1.5. So 1.5 by 3.5, 1.5 by 3.5. And I just used 1/8 inch score tape on the 3 edges, and then cut some cardstock to fit, and that's all she wrote for that bottom half. Okay, all right, and then when you fold it up, you've got this pocket here on the front and this pocket on the back, and all I did was cut, this is 2 inches, so a 4-inch piece of pattern paper, 4 3/4, so 4 inches by 4 3/4, and that's just so I could get a mat on both sides. Okay, inked the edges, I folded it in half, did my notch, so that made my notch on the front and the back because I folded it in half, and then I used some liquid glue here and 1/8 inch score tape up the edges here and here and put it on. And so now you have a front flap and a back flap or pocket. Okay, so that is how this little folio came together. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you have any questions, y'all know that I am not super duper good with measurements, but when I come up with something like a little folio like this, I want to be able to show you. Now look at this before we leave. I got that flap a little far over onto the edge there, the top flap that flips up. So I'm just going to trim that and then come back in with my corner rounder and get that flush with the edge. So no worries if you get that that flap right there, a little bit long on the edge. You can fix that up easy peasy. Okay, so that is how this little folio came together. Like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to leave me a comment in the section below, and I'll try my best to answer it. I'm not the greatest at measurements, but I will try my best with my matting, how I did all that. But like I said, it's really just a 1/2 inch of the whole piece. So this is 5 inches wide. I cut my mats 4 3/4. Okay, so that just kind of gets you that little matte look to it. I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks so much for watching. If you're not a subscriber here at Melina Pylant, Me Crafty Scrapper, I would love for you to be. And thank you to my people. I love y'all. Y'all are the best. Thank you so much. Have a great day. God bless. Bye, y'all.